Hello everyone! Do you like Steam Locomotive trading cards? Because if you do, I've got news for you. We are just about at last call for batch number 3, that is the People's Choice batch. And while we just about have all the locomotives locked down, there is still a chance to get your voice heard. About 24 hours after this video goes live, we will be starting a poll in the Iron Horseman Discord server. You can find that in the description. In there, you'll be able to nominate and vote for whatever you think best fits this pack or whatever you want to see most. I'll go over what's in the rest of the pack, what's in the rest of the batch, over the course of this video going forward, but that is the big announcement. Hopefully we will have cards being ready to be printed within a couple of months. So keep an eye out on our website, keep an eye out on our Discord server, and keep an eye out right here. If you're not interested in keeping tabs on the poll, there will be another video following once we determine what it's going to be. We will also likely be having some sort of competition, either a set of royales, a set of double headers, well, probably not double headers, or a set of our brand new Locodome game mode. The winner of these will quite possibly be granted a free pack from this batch. Anyway, without further ado, let me introduce your cards. The first one was the winner of the Worldwide Royales and also the nominee from the winners of the double headers. This is the South African Railways NG15. It's a 2-foot gauge Mikado. It's got a lot of style points. It is very light on its feet, being what it is. In fact, I believe that makes it one of the lightest, if not the lightest, locomotive that will be a trading card, ignoring the next thing you're about to see. The O Docksider. Now, whether this is heavier or not than the 2-foot gauge locomotive, being standard gauge, is up for debate. We don't have a stat page for this yet. We're going to have to dig up stats and hopefully dig up a better photo, but this is a fairly famous locomotive among modelers. It's appeared in games, it's appeared in physical form in a mass-produced model. People love the little Docksider, and I can't say they're wrong. In the number 3 position, we have the, is it Japan or Japanese? The JNR C62, number 17. Now, what's special about this locomotive is that it is the current holder of the steam speed record for narrow gauge. It's a Cape gauge Hudson, as you can see. And certainly a capable machine, definitely a later steam design with a lot of bells and whistles. And that speed record is a style point, so that's something to keep in mind if you end up with one of these. I have no doubt this will be one of the rarer cards, probably a Class 1, but rarities are to be determined. Once we get the final locomotive, we'll be able to organize things. Anyway, next up is the Hoodie Berks. This is Boston and Maine number 4020. Now, will we be using this picture and this locomotive exactly? I'm not sure, but it will be of this class. This is the T1B with the distinctive coffin feed water heater, one of the earlier rounds of Berkshires that were made. You can tell because of the smaller drivers and setup, it's not one of the later Super Berks, like the Nickel Plate and Pierre Marquette ones. It's not one of the Van Sweringans. But it holds a special place in my heart. Now, I didn't pick it, but I am glad to see it, and I will be trading for this if somebody comes across me. Next up is possibly the oddest ball so far, maybe the oddest ball in the competition. This is 5750, a Canadian Pacific locomotive. It's an 0660 with the inboard pistons, if you can call that inboard, and also it's got torpedo tubes out the front. This is a rare photo because this locomotive did not last very long as an 0660, so it's entirely possible this is going to be the photo. If there's another photo of 5750 before it was converted into a decapod, feel free to let me know. Took a bit of doing to find this one in the first place. The classmates of it are, well, they lasted longer and had more photos taken of them than this one did. Next up, does anyone remember Trains 2006? Because I remember Trains 2006. This is CN 6213, as you can see. The first Northern that we're going to see, but certainly not the last. The Vanderbilt tender, smoke deflectors, and feed water heater both help give this thing an array of style points, but it's also a fairly powerful machine, being a Northern. We'll see how it stacks up to its other Northern contemporaries, though. There are definitely a lot of 484 cards that are already out there, and this batch will only be adding more. If you like Northerns, keep an eye out. This, however, is not a Northern. This is very large, but it is anything but. This is a Bulgarian locomotive, a 212-4T, if you didn't feel like counting. It's got, oh man, it's got a track record. It's got some weird stuff that goes along with it. It's got some of the strangest spark arresting gear I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure that was taken from something you'd see at a campground. The balancing rods, the red undercarriage. The fact that it is a tank engine, you can certainly use these things to your advantage, but this was an interesting suggestion, and I know people have played with it before, but I sure haven't. I don't really have a ton to say about this other than it's a little wacko. Maybe it's better than 5750 though. This will be in the pack for you to get. Next up, something that needs very little introduction, Frisco 1522, famously an incredibly loud locomotive. A mountain type, which I think will be our first mountain type trading card. So, if you are an appreciator of the 482, you're definitely going to want to get your hands on this. It's oil-fired by the looks of it. I don't know too much about the Frisco or about 1522 in specific, but this ran in preservation for quite some time. Maybe someday we'll see it running again. Next up, this is a Southern locomotive. Punching in Southern Railways Class C got me a bunch of British stuff, so I had to find this postcard. This might be the photo we end up using if I get my hands on this postcard. It's apparently really hard to find photos of the Southern Class C. Wacky little engines. It's gonna fill a really nice spot in the middle of the lineup for something that is quick, but something that is light. On the other end of the spectrum, something that is neither quick nor light, although maybe you could get this thing moving. This is a Yellowstone. This is a 2884. Famously one of the most powerful locomotives ever built. And I believe these were the ones that visited the Rio Grande and were famed to be wonderful, wonderful locomotives. We've used that as a style point before. There's not much I can say to pull back the curtain on what this locomotive is. It's a big honkin' beast. It's definitely going to be the largest and most powerful locomotive in this pack. This batch, I should say. Now we have our second Northern, something that was surprisingly difficult to find a good photo of, NCNST L576. Yeah, I don't know why all the photos of it are in this condition. Hopefully we'll see it running again soon, though. Another Northern for you. Wonder how it stacks up for the others, with the others. Next up, this was a little bit of an ambiguous suggestion. This is the Green Bay route, Mogul. As you can see, it's number 257, but there was no number suggested. In fact, there was no class suggested. The thing we were asked for was to find the prototype of the Bachmann Mogul, and I think that is what we have done. This might not be exactly it, but we will do some digging, and the trading card you get out of your batch will be the closest approximation of the Bachmann Mogul. This is another mountain type. I wasn't actually aware that this was a mountain type until I went and found it. The 2600 class, I had heard it was this and that. I thought it was a Northern, I thought it was a Burke, but no, it's this. The Illinois Central mountain type, with Walschaerts valve gear, with an interesting looking slide, and a humongous tender, which is almost as tall as the locomotive, a boiler barrel, which is similarly absurd looking. It sort of looks like that small face on large head cat meme. I don't really have a lot to say about this personally, because I don't know much about it. Notice that it has spoked drivers on a locomotive this large, though. That should give you some clues as to things about it. Next up, something that also needs very little introduction, but some people may not recognize it in the flesh. You might recognize it by the name, the I-10SA. These were the consolidations built into the T-1s, which means you can now buy, or will be able to buy, the I-10SAs before and after rebuild. I managed to pick up a T-1 card myself in the last round of trading that I did with some friends. These are very, very powerful locomotives for their size. Definitely almost like a sleeper. You see a consolidation and you don't expect it to drop that much tractive effort on you. It's a beast. And another beast is the Hippo, the PRR I-1. These things were numerous as they were a pain in the neck to their crews. They shook crews around because they had more power than you could fit counterbalancing on those wheels. One does survive in this condition. I'm not sure if this is the one we will be using or if we will be using one in service that is a different number. Remains to be seen. Like I said, the numbers, pictures, rarities, all that stuff is yet to be figured out. But using this one would be nice because it has the fittings that the PRR was later forced to put on, like this power reverse here. And look at the size of those cylinders. Finally, we have our helper card. This one was picked out pretty quickly thanks to a suggestion. This is the UP Centennial, the DDA-40X. The two locomotives, but it's one locomotive. I know they don't run this in preservation service anymore, I don't believe so anyway, but it's still a very famous locomotive to a lot of people. This will be on as the helper card. Certainly the most powerful helper card. And maintaining a theme of having the helper be something big even for its era. First a train master, now a Centennial. At some point I will work out how to actually use helper cards in the game. So if you want the full list, take a screenshot and figure it out. Here it is. Just wanted to give everyone a moment to take that in. Pause it, take a snip, save it, write it down. This can help influence your decision for nomination, for voting. Everything else is standard gauge aside from what is marked. And hopefully this is enlightening and exciting. And if you don't own Steam Locomotive trading cards, please check out our website. We still have a bunch of packs of batch number 2 in which you can get all of these lovely machines. So, get voting. I'll see you guys when it's done.